Hi, everybody. I'm Toby Shifsky. I'm the Vice President of Real Estate Education at Dearborn Real Estate Education. And today, for our Dearborn Partner webinar series, we have the Your 2026 Playbook. So everybody wishes they had a crystal ball. Everybody wishes they understood what was going to happen in the marketplace. We're going to get some opinions today, and really, what we're going to get is some strategies for how you're going to take advantage of whatever the marketplace puts forward to you. And I have none other than our guest speaker today, who is Greg Greenhalgh. Greg, thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course. Toby, thanks again. Glad to be here and happy to chat with you and your guests.
Absolutely. Well, let me introduce Greg. If you don't know who Greg is a 10-year veteran of the real estate industry, representing buyers, sellers across Colorado, from Colorado Springs to Fort Collins, I believe. He's built a strong reputation through his professionalism, attention to detail, and commitment to putting clients and students' needs first. So, Greg is an educator also. Greg studied broadcast journalism at the University of Colorado and began his career in local TV. So he's got a face for TV, as you can tell. And he's done it for the news before discovering his passion for real estate. So from stardom to real estate, we might have to talk a little bit about that, Greg. And he's helped launch a national brokerage, served as director of operations for a leading Colorado firm, and worked as a mentor, coach, and educator. Greg is an instructor also who teaches both pre-licensing and post-licensing education. I think what you're going to find is Greg has a very deep sense of the real estate market. He also runs a very successful business in Colorado, and is going to give us a perspective for what he thinks is important in 2026. And once again, I'm going to be along and participate as well. So, Greg, thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for the amazing, fantastic introduction. I appreciate it. And like I said, excited to be here with you and everybody joining in today.
Absolutely. I tell you what, I know we got some big questions coming up. And so I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. But first, I would like to do a poll, if I could, Greg. And then what I'll do is I'll throw it over to you because I think you've prepared a little PowerPoint for us to follow along with, so everybody can kind of play along with us. But
Sure.
I want to know exactly who's in the audience. We do this at the beginning of every Dearborn webinar, and this just so we can kind of gauge the conversation to make sure who we're talking to. So I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll, everybody. If you would participate, that would be great. And the poll is, who's in the audience today? Are you an owner of a school? Are you an instructor? Are you an administrator? You're starting a school, right? Or other. And it's a single choice. So you might do a bunch of them, but what's the primary one that you're responsible for? We'd love to know that right now. If you could do that, that'll help us kind of organize the conversation. And the results are pulling in. I will share the poll just so everybody knows the poll is anonymous, so nobody's going to see your name attached to the poll. The chats, though, that we ask you to say where you're from and ask your questions in, those are not anonymous, so everybody can see your name there. So, all right, in three, two, one, I'm going to end the poll. And here are the results, everybody. Share the results. Look at that. 38% of you are owners, operators. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being an owner, operator, and probably a partner for Dearborn. Instructors, 13%. Administrator, 25%. Starting a school, it doesn't look like we have anybody in here starting a school. If all you people in the business right now, after a couple of hard years, are going, yeah, I can see why, but there may be some silver lining out there for us for 2026. And I think Greg's going to bring some really good information for us that you'll see that just about in any market, the right strategy, the right effort can make you successful, especially when your competition may be hurting. So, and then other, we have 25% of the people in here are other. And so we're going to go ahead. I'm going to stop sharing and let's do this. Greg, you want to take us off and maybe you can take over and drive the presentation because I think our first question is, what are those big opportunities? And take us through.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, extremely excited to be here with you today and really excited to really kind of dive in, especially with some of our instructors, school owners, admin. I think that this is a great opportunity for us to take a deep breath here at the beginning of the year and really reassess where we at, what went great in 2025, what didn't go so great, and how do we reassess our 2026 by making those smart goals so that we can make a successful year. And hopefully, I think if everyone wants a better year this year than they had last year, right? That's the big omen of the new year, right? Making New Year's resolutions and new goals. So excited to be here with you and share some of those ideas and specifically what has worked for us here and hopefully some golden nuggets that you can take with you and implement in your local area as well.
It's interesting you say that growth, 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 and I talk about this sometimes with our partners. Obviously, Dearborn's big part of Kaplan Education, very big, large, kind of global company. And every year we get this push, you got to grow. There's got to be growth. And I'm like, have you guys seen the real estate market lately? Right? I mean, it's hard to grow in a down market, in a trending down market, as things soften and transactions kind of depress over the last several years, especially when we saw a really nice push at the beginning, of the pandemic. And so. Sometimes planning is how you get growth. And I think one of the cool things that Greg is going to talk about for us today is how does that planning and how does that push when everybody else is in crisis mode, how does that make you stand out as a competitor? And I think that's one of the things we'll explore in just a little bit. So I'm looking forward to this, Greg. Take a
Yeah,
sip.
absolutely. And as you said, right? Yeah, I think that 2025, I chalk it up as the year of waiting, right? That's literally what I've written in my planner and kind of threw that one away, and it's time for a new year. But I think so often we were waiting. We were waiting for the real estate market. We were waiting for things to change. Maybe there was uncertainty if students should even enroll and become a real estate professional because they were hearing all the things that were happening in the real estate market. And so I think that now we're past the waiting. We as real estate professionals and as an agent that has boots on the ground are seeing the influx of the consumer coming back. Mortgage rates are slowly coming down, not as fast as that we necessarily wanted them to, but I think that people are tired of the waiting game of waiting for that mortgage rate to fall to purchase a house where they're actually coming out of the woodwork and saying, I'm done waiting. I'm ready to get back in the game. And so our hope is that, potential students for educators are also going to come out of the, out of the hiding, if you will, and the waiting and hopefully jump into your educational opportunities then there as well.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, the year of waiting. I mean, I think about it. I would, at the beginning of the year, and I know school operators, I mean, as a school operator, you're kind of a trailing indicator for what happens in the marketplace. And I can tell everybody, this is what I found over the last 25 years of doing this business. And a couple of really smart guys who hired me back in the day, they have been in it for the previous 25 years. And and they told me the same thing and from what I found, which was, in education, we're about a 4 to 6 month trailing indicator for what's happening in the real estate market. I remember when in 2006, all of a sudden our enrollments, if everybody, I know we've got school operators, you guys go ahead and put it in the chat. If you were in business in 2000 through 2005, what was happening with enrollments in 2000 to 2005? It was crazy because the real estate market was crazy. Transactions upon transactions upon transactions. And then all of a sudden in 2006, we built all these huge classrooms. We had hundreds of people coming in and all of a sudden it started to slow. And then it dropped off this precipice but what had happened was 6 months before that, all the home sales started to drop. People kept coming in thinking it was a great market. And 6 months afterwards, our enrollments dropped off. And then when the market recovered after the financial crisis, the market recovered and took off there in 2000, end of 2011, 2012. But once again, our enrollments didn't pick up for about 4 to 6 months afterwards. All of a sudden, they started to go. So for an educator, the history has been about a 4 to 6 month trailing indicator of what's happening in the marketplace. So that's why when we have people like Greg on, we talk about what's happening in the marketplace, or myself, it actually kind of drives our business. So it's all boats in the harbor go up or all boats in the harbor go down, let alone just competing against your competitors.
Absolutely. And you notice, and then that's kind of leads and is a great segue here just to my next slide is, one of the biggest opportunities that I noticed in heading into this year, and something that we've experienced firsthand as, as a leader of a growing organization is that those who choose to lead when uncertainty shows up
Mhm.
are oftentimes the one that are ahead of the game, right? And so when you can be that that anchor for the uncertainty, when you can start to lean in and be something that is a differentiating factor from the noise or the uncertainty that is out there, that's when you really start to see again the influx of people not only joining your organization, enrollment, that sort of thing. Personally, as a CEO, I remember, sitting in leadership meetings and even in classrooms during those difficult market stretches that you were just referring to. Not just with agents, but also with educators and, business owners even asking, how do we keep people motivated when the industry feels heavy?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's an uphill battle. That's a hard climb, right?
For sure.
And the moment reinforced something that was absolutely important to me and something that I stick with today is that markets are not what test businesses. They actually test leadership.
Hmm.
And if anything, I hope that people write that one down, right?
Yeah.
I truly believe that the real estate market doesn't test the business, it tests us as leaders. And it's our opportunity, again, to really show up, lean in, and guide through that change. Because
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, that's what the public, the educators, the students, your agents, your
Yeah.
consumer is ultimately looking for.
Uh, super interesting perspective, and I like that. I might steal that. I might use
Sure.
it. I'll probably give you credit once or twice, but after
There you
that,
go. I
so.
appreciate it.
But uh, I do find that, when you and I know we got people out here who like to compete. And what happens in a time when everybody's waiting is very few people are leading, and very few people are taking the step and the measure to create the relationships, to create the opportunities and the product values, right? That steps beyond the competition, that puts you in a spot where you are ahead of the game because you've invested the time, effort, and frankly, sometimes the money also, right?
And when it really comes down to it, students, agents, professionals alike, they're looking for clarity, they're looking for confidence, and they're looking for direction.
Yeah.
Those are the three biggest things. And if you, as an educator provider, can provide those three big things, the clarity, the confidence in that you're going to get them to where they want to go, and the
Yeah.
direction or the map of where they're leading and should be headed to, I think you're 10 steps ahead of the remaining competition.
I love how you say that. There's a whole philosophy behind driving value when you offer products to the public, and how do you really compete? Because in a product like say real estate licensing or even continuing education, but specifically real estate licensing, the value of your product is how well that product solves the problem. And the problem for people is they have to do the licensing education in order to sit for the exam and get their license, right? And so and anything that gets in the way is trouble. And
Mhm.
so how do you demonstrate that we actually help you become successful as opposed to oh, we have licensing education and it's cheap, or we have licensing education and it's just quick. If you can't tie how quick and how valuable the educational experience is to getting them to their success, to their goal, you are going to have a hard time competing in any market.
I completely agree. You really have to ask yourself, are you a content provider or are you a guide through change,
Ah,
right? And anybody, I hate to say this, we're entering into this new world of AI and chat GPT and all of these other things. Anybody, and I promise you, anybody can be a content provider. That's not what the consumer, the student is looking for. We
yeah,
have to be that guide through that change. And I think that we also have to be a cheerleader. And I know that's sometimes difficult for us as instructors. And I think even as, education providers to
yeah,
also tell our story and our success.
right on.
One of the biggest things and my biggest marketing strategy, which cost me $0, is I just tell the successful stories of the students who are coming in, enrolling, passing the exam, getting into real estate school and making their first $10,000 commission check.
Right on.
That
Right.
alone speaks volumes and it gets everybody and their mom to click that registration button because they see themselves in that same light. They want to
That's
be that person,
Don't be
they want
afraid
to be
to
that person.
demonstrate. Don't be
Exactly.
afraid to demonstrate the success you help people achieve, right?
Correct.
Don't be afraid
Absolutely.
to demonstrate that. I love
Absolutely.
that. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the number two, I think it's both with real estate educators and agents as well. There's a significant market share opportunity that arises when this uncertainty rises. Some education businesses pull back on innovation as well as visibility. But what we've noticed is the ones that actually lean in by refining their curriculum, by strengthening their support for the students, or even staying connected to their audience, they often are the ones that are emerging as the category leaders.
Yeah.
And so I want everybody to kind of think about, market share isn't just, you know, homes buying and selling. It's also the market share that we're taking on as educator providers as well. And then the last one there, I'd be remiss. I kind of mentioned it already, but AI and automation it's no longer optional, right? If you've heard of ChatGPT and AI, crazy enough, ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking about it over 400, 500 days. If you're not leaning into it and utilizing it, you're behind the times, right? And so it's a present opportunity, I think, for you to scale your education. I think it's a great opportunity for you to create consistency and your reach in your marketing without losing the human connection. This ultimately makes learning, I think, stick, right? And so we here at our office call AI sticky, right? It sticks. It makes the education and the material that the students are learning stick. We've got to transfer as educators and providers to learn how we can use AI because all of our students are we going to allow them to use it to our disadvantage or are we going to allow it to our advantage?
It's interesting. I think the word of the year is slop, right? So
Sure.
AI, you're not talking add AI slop. I mean, I think as an educator, being able to automate some of the way you connect with your students would be a priority for me. I would try to understand how am I going to use AI to make sure I'm connecting with students when and where they want to be connected so they feel supported in their successful journey on whatever it is. If it's continuing education, if it's licensing education, if it's exam prep, if it's professional development, how am I how am I creating a deeper relationship with people, right? Not by giving them slop, but by maybe automating some of the things that allows me to reach them when I know they need to be reached. How
Absolutely.
do we do that? How do we take some of the reports if you're an RE Campus partner of ours or RE Campus, online course platform and e-commerce platform. If you're how are you taking the information that you get out of the completion reports and that can kind of tell you, and enrollment reports, it can kind of tell you where people are at in their course. And are you connecting with them about where they're at in the course? Can you use AI to download a report and pull everything in and understand exactly where somebody is and where you might want to reach out to them and connect with them with an automated email through AI? There are ways to take AI to increase the success of your students and increase your relationship build with them, especially as more and more education is delivered through an asynchronous delivery platform. How do you continue to put the human being into it? Right. And AI, right, like I said, can help automate some of those things, but you can still have your personal message in there. So,
Absolutely. And it's all about training it, right? I call AI, I literally named it Spot because that was my very first dog, right? And I had to train my dog. I had to train my dog when feeding time was, where to use the restroom, when do we go on walks, when it was okay or not okay to bark. We have to do the exact same thing with AI. The more and more that you use it, that you train it, the more and more that it's going to learn your voice, your personality, and it becomes literally a replication of you. And we're starting to leverage technology as opposed to allowing it to replace.
yeah, there you go. There you go. Leverage instead of replace. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Perfect. Love it. Okay.
Yeah. Next big question that you had there on the screen for me, is how can businesses and specifically owners use SMART goals to stay focused and drive measurable growth in the coming year? This one, resonates big with us, I think, especially here at the, new year, new me. What is 26 going to look like for me? And maybe you're sitting there with your team or your organization, or maybe it is just you that's running that real estate platform. But what sometimes I often think of is what is the score, right? And so that's why I use this picture of the scoreboard. We sit in worlds right now where sports is prevalent, right? The playoffs with the NFL is happening. The NBA is on literally every single channel, and you turn it on at night. College basketball, college football, the Olympics that is starting in less than 100 days. What I often tell people is if you were to tune in and that ticker there along the bottom of the screen did not have the score, you would not know who was winning, who was losing, or how much time was left in the game. The excitement that comes along with us in being spectators of the sport often comes from the commentators that are giving us the messaging and that scoreboard, right? And I think about it over and over again. All of these games that are ending at the buzzer and the last field goal that's going to determine if you go to the playoffs or not. The problem is how often we as professionals don't know the score to our own play, to our own game, to our own goals. And so that's where we really kind of, I hate to say it, we have a scoreboard that literally sits on our wall every single day. I can come in as an educator, I can come in as an agent, and I actually know the score of where I'm at today based on the goals that I want. So, for an example here, I did kind of like the enrollment, right? If I want to enroll 15 students in the month of January, and I'm at January 7th, roughly a quarter of the way through the month, and I'm only at two students enrolled, I know that I'm behind.
Yeah, got a
And I think
problem.
it's very easy for us, especially as instructors, as professionals wearing multiple different hats, it's easier to kind of sweep it under the rug and make it a tomorrow problem. But it becomes very, very difficult to win the game in the last 3 seconds of the game to hit those numbers. And so we have a scoreboard that is up in front of us on a daily basis, and it helps create accountability, right? And what I've seen the most, especially in this leadership role that I've been in, is vision without structure creates frustration.
Huh.
Vision
Like
without
that.
structure creates frustration. So if my team that is here to support me, if my assistant, if my admin, if the other additional instructors that are in with my educational services don't know the score and I'm not looking at the same scoreboard, we're all running and going in different plays. Right. So early on, I watched incredibly passionate instructors, even school owners. They set large, ginormous, big goals for enrollment, for outcomes, for impact, for pass rates. But they struggled to turn those goals into executable plans. And that breakthrough really came for us when we shifted from outcome only goals to a proven driven smart goal.
Hmm.
So often, I think that we think, I want 50 students to pass this year.
Yeah.
It sounds like a great idea, but what are we going to do to get there?
Yeah,
What
right.
is it that's going to help us? And that's where, again, the SMART goals come into play, right? That they are measurable, they're attainable, they're, uh, in a sense, even an ability that I can reach. I think
Right.
oftentimes I see agents and even educators create these ginormous, lofty goals, and then they feel so defeated after month one of like, I don't know where I ever came up with that goal. I'm never going to hit it. And so they take the gas off the pedal and they feel like the mountain becomes too high. So I
Yeah,
would say
that's
for school owners, especially, those SMART goals really mean asking yourself, how many enrollments or completions are we targeting? What is
yeah.
it that we're going for on a daily basis? What does
Right.
that number look? And we take little small bites, if you will, as opposed to trying to swallow the whale, right? Then we look at
Yeah.
those weekly behaviors. And I'm sorry, Toby, go ahead. You had a
Oh no,
question.
I was just going to kind of add on. So,
Yeah.
about maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, we had this term come into business that was somebody wrote it in a book and somebody very smart and said KPIs. What are your KPIs? So
Yeah.
everybody heard of KPIs, your key performance indicators. And I'm like, KPIs, what's this KPI thing? I had no idea. But what I realized was it's what are your goals? How do you measure, right, on your scoreboard? Are you winning or losing? Are you attaining the goals that you set for you? And what are your key performance indicators that get you to those goals? So, what is your daily KPI, key performance indicator, for enrollments? Well, if my key performance indicator is two per day and I'm averaging 1.2, I know pretty fast that I've got some strategy or something that's not working. But like you said, if you don't know the score of the game, you don't know what you're doing. And you may be spending time on a losing strategy.
Absolutely.
So, so then it comes down to it says, okay, my business goals are I want to have, X amount of revenue, or I want to have X amount of enrollments, or I want to have this kind of a pass rate. Your key performance indicators would be everything that demonstrates how close you are to getting to that goal. But the setting us that smart goal is how are you going to get there, right? Is it specific? Is it measurable? Is it achievable? Is it relevant, right? And is it time bound? Meaning, are you actually going to hold yourself accountable in the end? And I think everybody's probably heard of SMART goals. There's a reason why SMART goals has been around ever since I don't know, 20 years, whatever. It's because they actually work
Sure.
when you do them right. And you don't have to be complicated. It can be very simple SMART goals. But as long
Absolutely.
as you have the goals and you're working towards them and you know what the score is, you have a chance to win.
100%. And I think we also need to give ourselves some grace, right? Every football game has 4 quarters, right? Why? Because after the first quarter, if the playbook wasn't working in the first quarter, we need to adjust the play, right? We
Right.
need to adjust the goal. We have a halftime. Every sporting event has a halftime, a seventh inning stretch, a break. Why? Because we got to go regroup. We got to get all together as a leadership team. We got to change the play. We got to change our goal so that we can try to win. And so I think it's also important that we take some grace of saying, hey, you know what? I didn't win today, or I didn't win this week, or I didn't win this quarter. But what is it that worked? What is it that didn't? And how can then we pivot and change for what we have then moving forward? I think oftentimes people get so stuck in my SMART goal starts on January 1,
Yeah.
and I better hit that and stick to it until December 31st of the end of the
Yeah.
year.
Well,
We
this
all
is
know
where,
that doesn't work, right? What is it? New Year's resolutions expire after 7 days.
yeah.
What I would say is stick with your SMART goal for long enough so that you can test it. You can
Mhm.
see what works, what doesn't, but then also allow yourself the grace then to pivot and change to make it a
Well,
win-win then for the entire year.
yeah, well, and this is where I think goes back to your comment earlier about leadership
Mm,
in tough times. Leadership in identifying if a goal is working or not is also important. And being
absolutely.
able to, I always tell my team, I said, listen, we want to get to here. We're here. We want to get to here. If we do nothing, we'll never get there.
Absolutely.
If we wait for the perfect plan or the perfect, strategy, we may never launch.
Right.
So you were better off launching on a 50-degree angle away from your target and seeing what's working and not working and adjusting because you will get there as long as you adjust quickly, use good leadership, don't be afraid to fail, but fail quickly and change to hit that ultimate goal. You do
Absolutely.
have, but you don't even know if you're off path if you're not measuring.
Exactly.
If you're not keeping
One of my favorite quotes is, why are the roller coasters always the most fun at the amusement park? Right? Well, why does everybody go for roller coasters? Right?
yeah,
And it's because it's not just the straight shoot up, oh, that was fun,
yeah,
that was boring, now it takes us down.
yeah,
Why do we live our lives of this idea that I'm going to start at the bottom and I'm going to shoot at the top, and if I don't, then I'm a failure?
yeah.
What I will tell you is the best and most successful companies, our best and most successful years have been the roller coasters. And that gives you that opportunity again to pivot and say, okay, we're now down. What worked when we were way up here, but what didn't? How did we get down here? How can we pivot and change so that we can rise back up again?
So if I was to think of a school and I was an educator, right? Depending on if I was an instructor, we have some instructors in here. If I was a school owner, I mean, enrollments are are classic, right? Having the ability to measure what the enrollments are, it is the core of your business. You are also going to probably be looking at completions. How many people are actually completing? Because, completions are where people have success. And if they don't complete, they don't succeed. And so we talked earlier a little bit about how can we use maybe AI to connect with people? What if you could help use your AI to understand where people are at and where they maybe need to be reached out to, and be able to get the little push, a little bump, a little help to get them through to get completion rates up if it's a long licensing series. How are you connecting to create a different experience for people so that they can be successful? Because I can tell you what, the best marketing still today ever is word of mouth, and success breeds word of mouth marketing without a doubt.
Absolutely. I don't know if you noticed there on that screen, and I can pop it back up here, is
Yeah.
one of the biggest ones that I use, Bear, in that bottom corner is about referrals, right? And
Yeah.
I think again it's a buzzword that we use in real estate, and oftentimes I don't think we often think about so much when it comes to the education platform. The students that are enrolled, that are drinking the Kool-Aid, that are coming in and day out, that are getting that clarity from you, that are getting the direction, that are getting the confidence to go and pass that test.
Yeah.
Those are your cheerleaders. Those are your marketing gurus.
Yeah.
And so you want to ask them, what can they do or what can we do to help them get the word out and refer more people to your school, your education platform, your business, your real estate company. And
Right.
so I lay heavy into this referral area where we actually provide, with the help of AI, some fun graphics. I've created 4 graphics that are just templated graphics in Canva with the help of AI that simply just say, hey, I passed such and such real estate class, state, school. Contact me to learn how I did it. And it has our school logo. It has the brokerage logo. What does everybody want to do? Everybody wants to tell about their success. It makes it very hard if I'm the student and I just passed the test and now I want to go home and you want me to go gloat about myself. Some people don't like that. But
Yeah.
if you give them the tool and the resource that says, hey, here's this graphic, congratulations, go post it all over your social media and make sure you tag us. Some of these folks have 5,000, 10,000, fifteen
Oh,
thousand followers that I would have never been in front of. I just gave them a tool, I gave them a graphic, and before you know it, oh yeah, I saw that Christy passed real estate education with you. I'd love to learn more. I would
yeah.
have never connected with that person otherwise.
Super cool. So typical SMART goal, right? Prepare and create, right?
Absolutely.
A set piece that I can give to students who successfully complete so they can post in their social media. Have this done by February 28th.
Exactly. Exactly. And also put it on the SMART goal of your students.
Oh,
Make that something that they are wanting to attain, right? They're not only going for the golden medal of getting past the education of the class, they're not only going for the gold medal of becoming a real estate agent after they pass their test. Maybe they are getting the gold medal that they get to go and put I hate to say it, the gold star that we all got in elementary school, they get to go show mom and dad and put that up on the refrigerator because,
put that
again,
on the
it's an
refrigerator.
accomplishment that should be celebrated.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yep.
What system processes? Are we into what are you thinking? What systems or processes do you believe are essential for staying competitive in 2026 market?
Yeah, absolutely. I personally love this one as well. One of the most important lessons I would say that I've learned is that great instructors don't scale, great systems do. And so that again is where we're leaning into technology, right? We're leaning into AI. This was a hard pill for me to swallow, and I know that I'm gonna ruffle some feathers by that quote, right? Great instructors, and you're like, well, I'm a great instructor. Of course I scale. Here's what I will tell you. You are a great instructor. You need to get the word out that you are a great instructor with a system that's going to help you scale,
Oh,
right?
I,
So
I
great
do agree.
instructors are not what's scaling the business. I hate to say it. It's the systems that we're using to shout it out and tell people that we're great instructors. It's the systems that we're using to make our students feel supported. I think, especially in education-based businesses, there are 3 systems that are essential. First and foremost, I would say, is the student life cycle, and the engagement system is what we call it. For the first inquiry of I'm interested in getting my license and beyond, students need to be consistent in their communication with the clear expectations, their SMART goals, and
Yeah.
feeling that they have the ongoing support from day one until day X that they actually are out of the program.
So that's
Those
interesting you say that.
systems, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and so this is interesting. So if I can just interject a little bit for
Yeah.
our educators on here, and some who are these instructors who are still a little bitter that you said they can't be scaled. But I think I get it, is you need the message that can scale about being such a great instructor, right? You need to
Absolutely.
be able to have that scale. And and this consistency of communication and clear expectations. I think that this might be one of, I just had a little aha moment, but I think this might be one of the key differences between in-person live education
Mm,
or even live online education, which I call appointment education, where people have to clear a schedule. You have to be there. It's butt in seat education, regulated education. You have to attend the class. Why the completion rates are so much higher for live education, live online or live in person, are so much higher than they are for asynchronous education.
mhm.
I mean, we're talking 20, 30 in some cases when there's a huge hourly requirement, 40% difference in completion rates. And I think a part of it is uh, when you have live education and it's scheduled education, man, the expectation is very clear. You show
Absolutely.
up every day. There's no maybe I'll study a couple hours today and I'll study a couple of hours tomorrow. And so so for live it's kind of built in. Here's the expectation, and at the end of class on the last day, you're going to take the course final exam, and you either pass or you fail. And if you fail, well, you're going to have to try this again,
Sure.
right? So, but on the asynchronous side, we spend a lot of time trying to organize content so that it's very easy, it's very logical, it builds on learning concepts, instructional design to get people through the education. There is a inside our courses. They start very easy, and the concepts just keep stacking. And believe me, if we had people start at the end of the course, they'd be like, "Oh my God, I have no idea what anything is," because you realize you have to feed them.
Mhm.
But there's a role for an educator in here to really kind of guide people as to what the expectation is. Is there
Absolutely.
a here's your expected study calendar? Here's how long it should take you to get through this first unit. Are we touching base with our students to make sure that they know what the expectation is? And how is it adjustable? Can they pick what path they're on? Is another thing we're seeing some educators do. Here's a fast path, here's a slow path, you pick. But maybe there's a mock-up calendar for how long it should take people to get through the education. Just
Absolutely. And it's when you have those systems, it ensures then that nobody gets lost or forgotten, right? And then every student now feels like they're a classroom of one. And that's another big strategy that we've used.
yeah.
I want every single one of my agents. I run an office here about 400 agents, and it's my leadership's team's goal every single day is that how can we make that specific agent or that student feel like they are an agent of one. Um, uh,
Huh?
it became very, very clear to us at the beginning when we were growing exponentially. People said it no longer feels like the
Yeah.
family. It no longer
Yeah.
feels like the mom and pop shop. People get scared of growth, right?
Yeah.
And I think that we as even instructors and educators, if my classroom is too large, how can I give the one-on-one attention to them that they so much deserve? What
Yeah.
I'm telling you is that when you have those systems that are in place to
Yeah.
ensure that no one feels lost or forgotten, you'd be shocked at the amount of feedback that we get of, oh my gosh, I feel like I was the only person. I feel like I was the only student that you guys were focusing on. I was the only agent that was helping to build my business. I was the only dot dot
Cool.
dot fill in the blank.
I love that. Love that. Well, based on current trends, Greg, I mean, what should educators prepare for in 2026 for, considering the real estate landscape? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, obviously 2076 is, I think, a little bit more discerning. It's more informed and it's more intentional about the, investments that people are making than they ever were before. So we've got to start putting ourselves, I think, in the consumer's shoes
Yeah.
and understand what are the questions that they are asking. What is hindering them from clicking that enrollment button and coming and joining your education? And
Mhm.
so these questions are, again, questions that we think about on a daily basis as a leadership team, because I know that these are the questions that are preventing people from coming to me, right? And so ultimately, what it becomes is that education is no longer about access to the information, it's
Yeah.
about the confidence transfer.
Mm.
Okay. So
Love
it's no
that.
longer about the access to the information. Like I said, unfortunately, I can get the information absolutely anywhere. Content is everywhere. I can choose you as my instructor, I can choose you as my education provider, or I can go choose somebody else down the street. Content is everywhere. What makes us different is the idea that we are transferring the confidence to get them to pass the test, to get them to launch a career. So some of the questions that they're asking right now, especially those that are entering continuing education or in real estate just in general, they're asking questions. What or will this actually prepare me for the real world?
Yeah.
How will it?
Yeah.
Again, we use AI to generate advertising campaigns of telling stories of how this education opportunity is going to make your life look better in the
Mhm.
real world.
How do you become more successful? How we support that? How this happens, right? That
Absolutely.
it's funny. I got a very interesting tidbit for people, and I'll kind of tie this into education, and some of the stuff that's available on RE campus or Dearborn. But this confidence transfer.
Hmm.
Interesting piece. For years, when we think about SEO, search engine optimization, and how we're competing in a digital marketing world, right? And I'm like, I wonder where we're at today. Real estate licensing course, real estate licensing program. I'm doing all this stuff searching, and my marketing department comes back one day and says, you know, the majority of people actually search for real estate exam prep,
Mhm.
not real estate licensing course. They do people search for that too, but the number one is real estate exam prep because most people looking to get into real estate don't realize that there's an education requirement that is actually a requirement. They just think they have to pass a test at the state level.
Right.
So they look for real estate exam prep. And so there's this thought of how do you transfer confidence about passing the exam
Right.
as opposed to because we all know and you educators, I know you're smiling out here listening, and playing along on this webinar. uh, the hardest part of getting licensed in real estate, the hardest part is getting through the education successfully, making it all the way through, taking the final exam, passing the final exam, not letting life get in the way to distract you and to blow you up, right? And that's the hardest part. If you go take your real estate licensing exam, our content, the work that their educators do is going to get most people through that license exam the first time. And if they really want the business, they're going to come back and take it again. They're going to take it again, and they're going to get through. What are you doing in your education, even in continuing education? Do people walk out of your continuing education feeling like, oh, yeah, well, I just finished that? Or are they walking out with courses that actually impart knowledge that helps them be more confident in their business and their professionalism? Are the courses timely? Are they relevant? Are they market sensitive? Right? Is your licensing courses, are you pairing everything up so that when they walk out of there, they not only feel confident to pass the exam, because that's really what they thought they were getting into in real estate. I got to pass an exam. But are they also then feeling confident, and maybe that's a part of your connection with them, is are they feeling confident about actually starting their career in real estate? Because we know that that it's an advantage if they come out of your education and then not only pass the exam, but they're excited about a career in real estate. Some people come out demoralized. You don't, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, super interesting. Confidence transfer.
Yeah. And using technology to understand, like you just mentioned, what are potential students looking for, searching for, and Googling right
Yeah,
now? What is it in the questions that they are currently asking that's preventing them from getting in and clicking that enrollment button?
yeah.
Understand that as a provider so that you then can start marketing and communicating and providing your strategy of how you are going to, I would say, meet those questions as opposed to leave again with uncertainty of being like, ooh, are they going to really be the best or are they going to get me to where I need to go? Or the big one there, right there, Who's leading me through this? And this is where I go back to, again, because I got to kiss up on our instructors again, because I kind of kicked them when they were down on the last slide. I have to kiss up on you. They want to know who you are. They want to know that you've been in the business for so long. They want to know that you have a passion for real estate education. So you also do have to tell your story, but leverage again technology and AI so that when those students are looking up who would be my instructor or who's leading me through X, Y, and Z, they feel like there's now again that personal connection. Again, the one-to-one relationship.
Right on. All right. In closing, if
Yep.
there's one bit of advice, Greg, you want to give to everybody for 2026 strategy, what would that be for owners planning their 2026 strategy?
Absolutely. If I could just give one piece of advice, to whether it's a school owner, even an education leader, it would simply be this. Design your 2026 strategy around impact and consistency and not fear. I'm going to say it again. Design your 2026 strategy around impact and consistency and not fear. We cannot control market cycles. We do not control enrollment fluctuations, as Toby was talking about, or even the industry headlines that are coming out in the news and in the media. But what we can control is the quality of our leadership, the clarity of the systems that we provide, and the experience that you deliver day in and day out. Every major breakthrough that I've ever seen, whether it's in a brokerage, a classroom, a leadership team, it came when leaders chose to invest in people during the most uncertain times. And so that's again where I kind of bring it back in full circle. If you as yourself, as an educator, as an admin, as a school or educator, if you are committed to serving, educating, and leading with intention, 2026 won't just be another year, but it will actually be the year that your organization earns deeper trust and a lasting influence in your local community.
Beautiful. Love it. Greg, awesome. Thank you. I appreciate your insight. I got like three golden nuggets out of this myself. Always a pleasure to have you on. Everybody, thank you for participating today. Once again, love to invite you to kind of come and see even more of these videos. I know here I'm just sharing a link, I think, on the page that's going to demonstrate. If you take that QR code, you can go and see more of the Dearborn Partner webinars. But once again, Greg, thank you for being here. Thank you for being
Thank
part
you.
of it. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you.